Yo, 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 what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another amazing rendition of, well, Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo spoilers. How the heck are we doing, everybody? I hope we are doing well. I hope we're all having fun. I hope we're all enjoying life as we know it. It is December 5th, 6:34 p.m. of the great year 2025. And all I've got to say is I'm happy to see all of you as always. We have got a very just awful, disheartening, and sad chapter to talk about today. But before we go ahead and get into that, what I do want to go ahead and talk about while we're waiting for everyone to pop in, everyone to join, and we're waiting for people to hit the like button, all that good stuff. I did take some time out of my day to see Jujutsu Kaisen Execution. And I did want to talk a little bit about that today, my entire experience as a whole with that movie. And yeah, that will go ahead and be our stream intro today. Last time we did the AI test, so I figured these are cool. You know, we can start these nice new little, stream beginnings while we wait for everyone to pop in. What up, Loud? Happy to see you as always, brother. What up, No Herculina? What up, Pelikash? What is up, number one fan? HS Entomology, what is going on? Hope we're all doing well. Yeah, we've got a bunch to discuss today. But let's start off strong here. I did, in fact, see Jujutsu Kaisen Execution. And you know what? Despite it being an obvious cash grab, I enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was a very fun experience, especially seeing it in theaters, getting the full like 7.1.2, all that good stuff, the surround sound, the Dolby Atmos, and just on the big screen. There wasn't really anybody in my theater because I chose English sub. I figured that would be the case. I know anime movies have been absolutely ridiculous lately as of just people just ruining everything for people. But I was surprised. Not only, again, were there not that many people in my theater, it was English sub, so no one talked the entire time. It was great. I think there was only one time where someone talked out loud, and it was me. And again, there was like 4 or 5 of us in the theater, and it was during Naoya's part when they animated this guy literally just like fixing his hair as he's like dusting Toto. I'm not sorry, Toto. As he's like dusting Choso to the side, and I'm like, all right, guys, like everyone laughed. It was funny. Like, okay, that's just like it was a great theater experience. I was happy to say, like, I absolutely enjoyed it. And I don't know, man. I don't know what goes on in movie theaters anymore, to be completely honest with you. It's so foreign to me and weird. Like, I feel like I buy a ticket online every single time, no matter what theater it is. And every single time I go into a theater, there's no one working to check a ticket. I really don't know what I don't know what the disconnect there is. That I felt like I was like, why did I even spend $15 on the ticket if no one was? I could have just walked in. And we're just using the honor system in movie theaters now, I guess. I don't know. They're counting their days as it is, and they're really not even trying to make hold of all of the profits that they could be getting. Anyway, neither here nor there. I did look up a couple like Reddit threads and stuff like that and posts in regards to the movie, like just to see what people were saying about it before I bought the ticket, because I did go see it by myself. So I was like, if I'm gonna buy this, it better be goddamn worth it. And you know what's funny is the biggest things that I saw people complaining about was that half of it was a recap. And I just have to ask, did you not know what you were going to see the movie for? It was I feel like they made it very clear that half of the movie was going to be a recap and all that stuff, you know? Just it's just so funny to me. But that was like everyone's biggest complaints. And as for the recap, I think the recap was decent for condensing what, like 18 or something episodes, a lot, into quite literally like I think like 30 or so minutes, 40 minutes. 39. It really wasn't. I didn't mind it. There were. I will say what people said. Like there were better things to focus on than what they focused on. I just think that more or less means they didn't focus on someone's favorite part. I liked it. Again, I thought the recap was well done. It was amazing seeing like some of these scenes in the big screen. Like I said, the experience was worth every penny. For 15 bucks, that's how much it was for me. I don't know how much it will be at your local theater, but for 15 bucks, I got what I paid for. Seeing a good hefty amount of the Shibuya incident with the cool soundtrack and music. Tiberius is going to see it in an hour. You will enjoy it. And I enjoyed all of the quick little like scenes and fights. There were obviously a lot of things that got cut, without a doubt. And the biggest fight that got a lot of the focus was Yuji versus Mahito, which rightfully so. That is, in my opinion, the best fight in the Shibuya incident. And not just that, it's honestly just seeing it back in that recap. I'm like, this might be my favorite fight still in the entire fucking story. Yuji versus Mahito is just something else. It is really just a dynamic that Akutami hit so hard and well, and seeing it brought to life with the two voice actors in, again, that cinematic Dolby Atmos quality. Mwah, mwah, oh my god, those two voice actors deserve awards. Like, I can't praise Yuji's voice actor enough, let alone Mahito's voice actor in that full surround sound. That they got the perfect person to voice Mahito, and he killed every single scene that he is a part of. It reminded me so much of how much I love that raw nature of that fight. On top of that, I saw people complaining that Gojo's scene was kind of cut short, but while I'll definitely say it was, I'm not mad at it. Nanami's scene was longer than Gojo's, but to be fair, they almost got me to tear up with that Nanami death scene. Seeing that replay back on the big screen did something to me, man. I got so sad, and it was so sad seeing this man go back and forth from Malaysia to slaughtering cursed spirits, and that leading right into the Yuji versus Mahito fight. They did it so fluently. I think the recap was as great as it could have been. I'm not going to complain. The Sukuna versus Maharaga fight is basically just condensed down to the new Blu-ray scenes, which I noticed a lot of people didn't even understand. I saw people complain that Sukuna and Maharaga looked worse in now, which I completely disagree. I think the Blu-ray scenes were sick. They didn't add all of the Blu-ray scenes, and they did cut it down a little bit. Again, Yuji versus Mahito was the only fight that really got most of its shine. Either way, I thought the recap was completely fine. Seeing it in movie theater form was great. As for the new episode, the complaints that I did see about the new episode, I want to get into. And I want to discuss it because I thought the new episode was, one, awesome. Don't let anything I'm about to say fool you into thinking I didn't like the new episode. The new episode was fucking cinematic masterpiece, anime as it could be in its peak format. Seeing Yuji versus Yuta, Naoya versus Choso was freaking amazing. However, as in regards to being an episode of anime, if I was an anime only, I can understand why I wouldn't have liked this episode, because this episode was 125% made for theaters. It was 110% made knowing it was going to be a movie. And what I mean by that is there is not only a lot of expansive creative liberties taken in the first episode, the overall quality and pacing of everything and the scenes in it, you can tell they were 100%. They had a deadline in mind of getting this episode to end at Yuki, Maki, Yuji, Choso, all these people meeting Tengen, and then credits, which is what they did. But you can definitely you definitely can tell how jarring of a character Naoya is compared to every other person in the series. because going into that Zenin clan meeting when they're talking about who's gonna replace Naobito for the Zenin clan head, when Naoya just starts fucking going full misogynistic missile, it's like, whoa, you clutch your pearls for a minute. You're like, holy shit, this guy's like, relax, dude. There really is no one else like Naoya in the entire series, and like his introduction, maybe I didn't realize it, or I don't remember it as well, because I remember when I first read 139, we're talking about almost like what, 3-4 years ago now, maybe even more than that, 4 I think. Either way, like, wow, like Naoya really is like a very different character compared to everybody else, and the animators that did his fight scenes just loved the absolute hell out of my man. The absolute speed and ferocity that they give this guy, and how quickly he dog walks every single fucking time he's in a scene with Yuji or Choso. He is just obliterating every person that he's on screen with. They gave my man too much aura. I can't even deny. Like, when I say too much aura, I mean they made Naoya come off way too cool. And that's someone that's a Naoya fan. Again, as someone that doesn't like Naoya as a person, you know, but I love his character writing the same way that I love Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. I don't support Ramsay Bolton, but I love his character. You love to hate him. They put too much sauce on my man. They really did. They did everybody else dirty. Yeah, they gave Naobito scraps by comparison, literally. However, this is my first thing here. The issue that I have for that when it comes to anime only, to be completely honest with you, if Naoya didn't come out towards the end of the episode and tell me that he was using projection sorcery, you would not have been able to tell whatsoever what his curse technique was. Is that maybe by design? Probably, because it's you're like getting immersed in the atmosphere of what Yuji and Choso are dealing with, right? And that also goes down to the pacing. A lot of people were complaining about the pacing of the episode, and while I understand why people are making that complaint, as someone that knows how all of this goes down in the manga, it pretty much goes down pretty much exactly how it does in the manga. But even in the manga, this whole middle section between getting everyone from like point A to point B into the culling game is definitely a little weird, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like you feel that in the episode, on top of the fact that when I mean this episode was designed knowing that it was going to theaters, is I mean there were a lot of cinematic things that were done with the episode that were cool for someone like me that read the manga, but for someone that is anime only, it's gonna be very like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Because something that we see 110%, and you see it in Shibuya Incident, and we're gonna see it even more in the culling game, is the larger inclusion of narration, inner monologue of what every character is thinking of in the moment of the fight, as well as the narrator explaining different amounts of techniques, the narrator explaining, you know, what each character does what. And while they did that in Shibuya Incident, and I think there's ways to do it in normal anime, I think knowing that it was a movie and knowing that they had to do everything that they needed to do in a certain time, that ended up like just you compromise in ways that I think looked cool, but I think were bad ways to portray information. For one, as people are saying, yeah, the rules of the culling game being on screen for 5 seconds. I literally saw people in front of me like that clearly were anime onlys being like, what is going on? Like literally, like they were genuinely like, why? Like all 9 rules of the culling game are on screen for less than 3-4 seconds. Like if you're not streaming this and you're not pausing it, you were not an anime onlys have no idea what the fuck the culling game is from that episode. You would never be able to figure that out as an anime only. Clinton, thank you for the $3. Why Kenjaku never went after Rika like Geto? I mean, Kenjaku never thought Rika was interesting. All Kenjaku ever did was talk shit about about Yuta. He's like, yeah, I'm not interested. I don't get what everyone sees in him. So anyway, like for example, there's the moment when Yuji is fighting Yuta and Yuji is like thinking to himself, holy shit, like when you fight a sorcerer, you can normally tell what attack they're going to make because, you know, they have their cursed energy reinforced on their attack. If you're fighting an elite sorcerer, then they may be able to trip you out and be like, oh, I'm attacking with this one, and faking with cursed energy here, but actually I'm coming with a right hook as opposed to, you know, a left. And he's like, well, Yuta just has so much cursed energy, I can't even fucking tell. Like that moment, while I think they do a good job of it, as well as the Gojo scene when Gojo's explaining to when Yuji was never taught how to reinforce the knife with his cursed energy, and he's remembering of Gojo talking to him, or also moments like that. The creative things that they did to kind of relay that information to the audience, I think as a movie work well, but again, I think as an anime only, where they're trying to give this information to you but also at the same time go through the fight without losing any bit of pacing whatsoever in it, not skipping a single beat, it's just kind of just a lot. It's just kind of just a lot to take in all at once. There's multiple scenes where there's like 3 lines of dialogue all going on at once, and you kind of have to it's not a bad episode by any means, but I definitely think this episode specifically suffered by the medium that it was put out in. I think it was a great episode. I think the animations were fucking awesome. Don't get me wrong. Again, Naoya's animation was done super great. The Naoya Choso fight was super duper cool, even with the changes that they made. I know a lot of people are going to complain about the cut scenes, and people are going to complain about how, oh, you know, this person, like, you know, Yuta and Yuji's car scene was cut. They switched that completely for the theater scene. You also have certain things, like I said, with Naoya's projection sorcery, where there are scenes in the manga of it being very clearly that Naoya is using projection sorcery, turning Choso into like a frame, stopping him, and then smashing Choso through the frame, right? Like, there are multiple things that they changed that they didn't put in. The biggest change that they made was when Choso summons the giant tidal wave, and they do have a very humongous, like, long drawn out scene of Naoya like Roadrunner running in like very, like, I've seen people describe this as Pain versus Naruto animation, and I will tell you, as a Pain versus Naruto hater, I do see the comparison, although I will say it doesn't bother me as much because it's just the one scene and it's like a very additional scene, and like it's just it's fine. I'm fine with it. It doesn't bother me too much, but it is like they did a lot of really creative things with the movie episode that I thought were cool, but again, kind of you know, I could see as an anime only not appreciating it to a certain degree. But either way, I would have found the movie better if it wasn't basically a recap of Shibuya. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like they advertised that very well. I feel like it was very clearly shown to be like a recap movie of the Shibuya incident, you know? And then just the episode. I know. I mean, obviously the movie would be better if it was not. It was all just original content. But I think they advertised that very clearly. But my thing is some other highlights that I can say about it. Is it was a fucking awesome episode. As a manga reader, I loved it. I loved the way that Naoya showed up quick and you're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on? And then Yuta shows up next, and it's, again, as an anime only, I can understand how that pacing feels jarring for you, but as someone that knows what's happening and also knowing like they were going for a more cinematic vibe, the idea is like isn't so much to worry about the pacing of the viewer, and it is to more so immerse you in how quick all of this shit went down for both Yuji and Choso. Like in Yuji and Choso are slaying curse spirits, and then in 1 second they have Naoya showing up. Naoya starts fucking piecing them up 1 2 3, and then in 2 seconds later they have Yuta show up, who just is a fucking special grade monstrous. The scene they did of Yuta showing up and his cursed energy just like filling the area, dope. They did that really well. How'd they animate Supernova? I thought they did Supernova pretty cool. I thought they did Supernova very, very well. They didn't name it. They didn't have Choso say the name of the technique. I thought that was weird. But I did like what they did with that scene. That was done really well. The whole Naoya versus Choso fight was done really well. Yuta versus Yuji did feel short, did feel quick. I do understand what people say. You know, I do understand what people are saying when they say that Yuta and Yuji went by so quick. But I mean, you also have to remember Yuta and Yuji was very fucking quick, even in the manga. I think people just, again, expected with the anime things to be expanded upon. And because this movie was put at the end of a Shibuya recap and had a certain time to fill to get to a certain point, again, they kind of didn't really add anything to it. I will say, I do think that will change for the other episodes of the season, because again, the other episodes are going to be done in the weekly format. They won't be specifically made to be put out in theaters. So I really highly doubt the other episodes will be as like cinematically directed, if that makes sense. So yeah, some new things that they did add that I thought were very, very cool. I like how they did the scene with Yuji, his father, and Kenjaku, when he remembers back to his grandpa talking to his dad. I thought they did that scene really well. You also have the change dialogue in the scene when they come upon Maki at Jujutsu High, which does confirm. I thought this was great because I felt like we were just talking about this the other day. I think we were talking about Yuki Tsukumo on another stream, and we were wondering if Yuki healed Maki or if Shoko healed Maki. It seems like in the anime they just outright say that Yuki was the one that output reverse curse technique healed Maki. So we now have confirmation directly, at least from the anime, take that as you will, that Yuki Tsukumo is able to output reverse curse technique. So I thought that was interesting that they directly changed the dialogue for that from the manga to have Yuki outright come out and say, hey, I was not able to heal the burns. I was able to heal her, but I wasn't able to do anything about the burns. Like, she outright comes out and says, I myself healed Maki. So that I thought was cool. When they have the scene of the culling game being announced, while they did definitely, sadly, like just outright just screw up the culling game rules. For one, there's fucking 9 culling game rules. You can't flash them on the screen quick like that. I don't even think Japanese fans would have been able to, Japanese anime onlys would have been able to fucking read how quickly the culling game rules popped up and out. But you'll know, if you remember, when the culling game does get announced, they have those quick little flashes of Higuruma and Sumiki. Well, I absolutely fucking loved that they included basically almost every major culling game player in that fucking scene. Yeah, exactly. The single shots of all the culling game players got me so hyped. Like, when I saw Kashimo, and I was like, oh, what? And then they showed Oro Takako with the sky manipulation, and then they showed Ishigori smoking the cigarette on the building. I was like, holy shit. I was like, that is so fucking cool. I was like, they did not have to do that. Like, that's additional content that I love to see. now that we have fucking, now that everyone is fully out and designed. Like, that was for the manga readers, baby. That was for the manga readers for sure. Seeing all of the Culling game players get brought in. Most of the Culling, like, they showed Reggie too. They showed Reggie Star. They really did. I don't think everybody was shown. Like, they did leave some people out, but they showed, again, most of the major villains that everyone's gonna be fighting, which I thought was super, like, again, super fucking cool inclusion to that scene. Besides that, the one thing that I did want to mention that will actually flow us into just Modulo overall, and then we get into the chapter review for Modulo and everything like that. Having all of the knowledge of Modulo and going through that Shibuya recap and listening to certain dialogue is crazy. And I was thinking about this on the way home. Big time. Because say what you will, say what you will about Boruto. I like Boruto. But a lot of what you see about Boruto is like, retcons or things that change this or this plot, blah, 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 blah. Whether you agree with it, disagree with it, again, this is not a Boruto complaint. This is not a dig at Boruto. This is anything bad about it. But it just sends fans in frenzies. Modulo, honestly, so far for me right now, 15 chapters in, I've got to say it has done nothing but make everything in the past hit so much harder. Hit so much freaking harder, man. Seeing Yuji break down into tears as he's like viewing after Malevolent Shrine to killed all of those people, and he's digging his fingers into the fucking dirt, screaming about how he's the only one that needs to die and how he wishes that he could just die right now. And you have the scene of his grandpa constantly showing up and saying, hey, just, you know what, save everybody that you can and then die surrounded by everybody. And the whole time I'm just sitting here being like, bro, Yuji, even in the future, even 60 years from now, I know you never get your goddamn rest, man. Oh, it's like it hurts. It hurts so much more. Knowing and hearing and seeing those scenes and reliving those emotions, knowing what Yuji's fucking status is right now in Modulo, right? Like, oh my god, it did not honestly ruin anything for me. And if anything, it severely improved the source material, because like it makes everything so much more tragic, right? It makes moments like that hurt so much more, because knowing that Yuji didn't get his piece. At least not yet. And then you also have like funny fucking moments too that I thought was really, really cute. Like when Mahito is about to kill Yuji before Toto shows up, and he's giving Yuji that speech about, right and wrong, and this is war. And he's like, you and me are the same. And Mahito makes this comment and he goes, I've killed so many people and I don't remember them. He goes, you know what, Yuji? In time, I'll forget you too. And I couldn't help myself but cackle in that moment, because I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, 68 years later, here you are, fucking still waiting for this. We're still refusing to move on from limbo in the cursed realm because you're waiting for Yuji to die. I'll forget you my fucking ass, dog. It's just like funny things like that, right? Like, if anything, Modulo has done nothing but severely improve upon the source material. So I've got to say, Akutami is a masterclass for that. Was Jujutsu Kaisen execution downright obvious cash grab? Yes, without a doubt. 110%. This whole trend of new anime movies, and we're coming out with the first 2-3 episodes as movies. It's got to stop. It's got to end. I'm not a fan of it. Am I still helping it proliferate because I just bought a ticket and paid for it? Yes. What do you want me to do? So yeah, did I have fun? Yes. Was it worth $15? Without a doubt. Would I have paid anything more to see it? No, probably not. But I'll pay $15 to go see, you know, the Shibuya recap in the theaters with the surround sound and the cool experience. And again, I think the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen was great. I enjoyed it. It was really, really, really fucking awesome for me, in my opinion, to see. I love the creative liberties they took, and while I think I can understand why anime onlys or other people might not like it, I'm normally pretty open-minded about that stuff. I really don't mind. I really don't mind if I don't really don't mind if they change too much from the source material, as long as they do their best to maintain a lot. I mean, the Sukuna vs. Maharaga should have shown you that they will prefer having better animation and cooler Sakuga moments than they will being completely authentic to the actual series as itself. They added like 5 minutes in between like 2 panels. Like the amount of time from Sukuna getting hit by the blade to Maharaga hitting Sukuna with cursed energy is like, I think like 1 to 2 pages in the manga, and they extended that shit mad. So I think that spoiled a lot of people. I was really hoping for the illustration goodie they got in Japan. The ones I got were decent at best. Hey, I didn't get anything. There were no goodies at all for me. They didn't give me shit. Maybe that's why it was just $15. What do you think is the fight that will get most extended during the culling games? If I had to guess, probably Hikari versus Kashimo. If I was a betting man, I would probably say Hikari versus Kashimo, because that's the one that has the most wiggle room, right? Because you figure Yuta versus Sendai has too many moving parts, in my opinion. While Yuta versus Sendai has a really good chance of getting maneuvered around a lot and having like maybe like original scenes, I'm not saying it's impossible, especially based off of the direction that we've had from the series so far. Yeah, I think overall, if I had to say anything, it was great. I liked it. So let's move on. Let's move on. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. It really helps the stream way more than you know. And let's get into the chapter review, shall we? The chapter summary of chapter 14. All right. Let me open this in photos. So, this chapter is, in my opinion, the best chapter of the entire series so far. I've really had a chance to sit down and think about basically everything that happens, and for this only being 14 chapters into a series, not only is the pacing for all of this immaculate, because all of these characters are set up so perfectly where when moments like this happen, it's so heartbreaking and sad, but it's also unbelievable how real and natural all of this development and moving pieces of the story feel. When 3 chapters ago you had Maru and Tsurugi swimming through the ocean trying to catch jellyfish and getting stung together and connecting on a level that Tsurugi probably hasn't with a lot of other people. And not only does that make me absolutely just so upset to know that negotiations and coexistence between these two people that genuinely had a real chance to succeed just fell apart so quickly due to the results of a few unfortunate radical people like Asaki and the Yukihara character from the Jujutsu higher-ups. And I've seen a lot of people be willing to like forgive Oski or be willing to, you know, find some sort of, I would say, common ground, understanding, which I understand his character. However, I think people like Oski and also people that shot the first bullet just because Cross reached into his pocket are just reactionary people that are, at the end of the day, detrimental to the sides that they're on. Because now the kind of situation that we're in, we are kind of, both parties are forced now to stay on the offensive. They can't give up. Unfortunately, the world that Dora predicted and the world that Dora wanted for his people, and also what he admitted kind of has to be done in situations like this where someone has to give, neither party is being willing to do so. It's now come to the point that the higher ups are more than willing to send Yuka Okotsu to her death in the duel, especially now that they know that she has brain cancer and that was made public. Now they don't have any cares whatsoever about having her participate because, hey, she's gonna die anyway. You heard her prognosis, right? You heard everything that she has. Diagnosis, I'm sorry. And not only this, they're basically under the impression that no matter what they do, they're kind of screwed. Deborah is so powerful that even if they were to get help from the United States and they had the full military might of both of their countries, they wouldn't be able to stop Deborah. Their real only alternative to Yuka fighting Deborah here would be nuclear weapons. And no one's gonna want to be the country that drops a nuclear bomb on Japan again. So if they were to resort to that, they would have to make it themselves. At this point, we see the awful situation and state that the current Japanese government is in, right? We know from the beginning of the series that everybody had basically cut off Japan from allyships and just working. They were still passive allies, but no one wanted to reach out a hand and help Japan because they have been so closed off. They have held cursed energy like Monopoly. They have held all of their secrets tightly, and this kind of way that they have held their country has caused them, as Usami says himself in the beginning of the series, an ultra-nationalistic burden on the world around them that basically weaponizes their control over paranormal affairs to get ahead of everybody else, which is why you have an underground market like the children getting abducted and everything like that as a cursed energy resource, because Japan refuses to open that knowledge up to everybody else, so therefore the only way to get it is illegally. And I'm not saying that it's Japan's fault that other people are invading their country and trying to steal their cursed energy, but you can see how they have constantly shot themselves in the foot, and now when they need help the most, they can't get any help. And at the end of the day, it has forced them into a position where Yuka is essentially the only chance they have, especially if they're not able to get a hold of Yuji Itadori. Hey, Clinton, thank you so much for the dono. I appreciate that. What if Yuka's curse technique is the 10 shadows and just summons Maharaga? Do you think that's possible? First of all, thank you for the dono. I have seen that theory a lot recently. And while there is definitely a lot of reference, I think, you know, you have multiple moments of Yuka making hand signs or shadow signs and potentially techniques that could be in line with the 10 shadows. I think that'd be a really cool reveal. I do actually have plans to talk about Yuka in a later segment. As of right now, what do I think? I don't know. Personally, I think it's a cool theory. Do I think it has like a lot of weight and likelihood? I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I think like maybe her having a connection to like Rika is probably more likely, but I could be wrong. When it comes to the flashback that we get with Maru, the political side of the Sumerians also is, in my opinion, able to be completely understood as well. Both sides in this conflict are 110% justified in the actions that they are taking. And I know that there are a lot of people that do not like that Sumeria has come to Earth unprompted and begun to swing their dick around, for lack of a better phrase. But while the Kalyan excuse, as I call it, their religion, the whole idea of the Kallion being the sole utter reason that the Sumerians are difficult to live around and be with is, in my opinion, an utter fallacy, right? Because it's about as real as the stones that Maru's father was protecting and that Maru's father died for. Maru is caught between multiple different things here. He is caught between his ideals of being a warrior, someone that protects his people, but also at the same time, he alone was one of the only people to understand that when you are guided by a blind belief in something, his father, as he says, we see, his father was so blindly devoted to these stones that he thought were Mulu stones that he gave his life for it, and it was revealed that the stones weren't even Mulu. Maru keeps this to himself, right? He doesn't tell Cross that his parents and their entire village was destroyed for nothing. But I think the allegory is very apparent here when you even see Maru and Tsurugi clash towards the end of this chapter. Specifically, when you see radicals like Yukihara, or I might be saying his name wrong, I'm sorry, or Asuki. Asuki was already more than willing to vote for war and invasion and making Tokyo an autonomous zone, even before they knew curse spirits were involved at all with Kallion, and even before they knew anything was even in Tokyo. That's, I think, something to very much remember here, because I think that everyone is getting so easily distracted by the Kallion idea here, and you are playing directly into something that Dora mentioned way back in the tournament stage a couple chapters ago, in which even when the Lumerian tribe's original home was destroyed and they were pushed out of their home, and Dora saved them, thank God, by winning that tournament against the Discante chief at the time, Dora admits as much that the Discante, while claiming that Kallion ate my daughter, there must be, repentance. We must, fight and take your land for, payment. However, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, all they wanted was the Mulu stones that the Lumerian people had. They just wanted their resources. They wanted to mine all of that resource. And they said, hey, they have these Kallions here, these beasts that only really eat everyone but them. If we have a problem with the Kallions, everyone around us is going to be like, oh, well, obviously it's the religion. These people they're not willing to give up their gods. It's their fault. And I think you see this in the people that are very much quick and willing to be like, hey, Sumeria's the villains. They are evil. They need to give up their Kallion religion. And while neither here nor there, I would also agree in a sense. I think the Kallion thing and being so real, and if that is really the reason that they are so gung-ho about this, then yeah, I think that is honestly not a good thing to carry around, especially if you're trying to immigrate to another people's home planet. However, I think Maru's thought process here completely plays into that fact, and I think it's very interesting. Because, again, going into the idea that Asuki and the Sumerian and the Lumerians were already planning on invading, taking over Tokyo, and now the moment they find out that curse spirits can be in any way related to Kallion, oh, you guys are slaughtering our Kallion. Now we have to take Tokyo, and now you guys have to stay out of it. That seems very convenient. And sure, we do have the scene of Asuki listening to the voices of the Kallion and fully believing what he's saying, but also at the same time, I think it's important to note that there will always be people that fully believe the cause, right? At the same time, that does not change that the people above are still using this Kallion excuse as a way to take power away from the Earthlings. Do I still think that makes Sumeria a villain? Yeah, 110%. The people that were willing to make those choices are definitely not good. I think coexistence could have been a really big benefit for both parties in the series. I think that's a very big detriment. And it's something that I do want to get into in a little bit, how, again, I think overall, what is at stake here is the fact that both parties wanted to take advantage of the other instead of just actually coexisting. And I think that is the biggest issue with all of this. The humans wanted to take the non-axe technology and use that to again, hide that knowledge from the rest of the world, keep it all safe in Japan because they're the ones that will use it correctly, and they can massively benefit from all of that. All they need to do is get the black rope for Deborah's sister, and oh my god, you're in our good graces. You have Samaria, right? Who Oski even says wanted to be an elite from the very beginning. He says, I want to be a Discante this time around. And it's just ironic to me that he's now using the Callion, and the rest of the Sumerians are as well, to now establish what they already had planned for. And again, you could argue that, like Maru says, Maru isn't specifically looking to take over and invade an entire planet. That's not what he ever wanted to do. Maru, if anything, simply just wanted to live. But now he's in a rough position. And so is Tsurugi. Because now that Cross has been shot, I'm just trying to find the right page, I'm sorry. Now that Cross has been shot, Maru really has to consider what matters most to him. Are these petty friendships that he made over the course of a couple months with these entire new species of humans that important to him? Or does it matter that Cross has now been shot and is on the verge of death, not even sure if he's going to wake up? There's, again, as Maru mentions in this chapter, 50,000 Sumerian people, that includes women and children, that are all on the Nonak spaceship. Say what you will about the evil Sumerian people that are in the higher ups that want to invade and use the religion as an excuse to take over a certain area of Japan. Say what you will about them. I'm not defending them. That doesn't change the fact that there are still at least 5 figures worth of innocence. Not all of these people are evil. It's very quick and easy to demonize an entire group of people, but not all of these people. Some of these people are innocents. They're just women and children that are looking for a place to live and call home. And if they get kicked off of Earth, there's not even a guarantee they'll ever find another planet that is ever able to be inhabited by them. They could drift across space for eternity and their people just die out on a spaceship for the rest of time. And some people will say, oh, well, you know what? Sucks. You know, these people, that's their life. They should have went back to their home and fought for it. I think it's also important to remember that if they were left on Samaria, the Discante were about to exterminate all of them. The Discante were about to kill every single one of them. So these people really do not have anywhere else to go. And that's where Maru's having this conflict inwards, right? Mentally. He considers people like Cross and Deborah, he considers them kind, because Cross, despite everything he had went through, was able to forgive and able to vote for coexistence. Deborah, despite everything he went through, apologized. Despite being a Discante of different people, was able to make friends with Dora, and even though he was forced to kill Dora, he did everything he could to not ruin his face, make sure he had a good funeral, and apologize because he never meant to hurt these people. However, Maru, as he dwells to himself here in this moment, realizes that he's no better than his father, because now regressed to his inner instincts with nothing left but being a warrior for his people. When Tsurugi goes to meet him in what ends up being a battle that we'll see next chapter, Maru is more than willing to fight for his people. But it's interesting what Maru says. Maru says, all right, sure, Yuka's gonna die, but hey, if you want to talk, losses, as he pulls his band-aid off, Curse Spirits and Callions, you guys are slaughtering them. And also, you guys almost killed my brother. It's almost as if Maru, instinctually, his id, right? Id, ego, and super ego. His id knows that he needs to be a warrior, that he needs to fight and protect his women and children. But at the end of the day, at the same time, he also has his ego and his super ego, the things around him that he has molded and his personality that he created over time, where he understands that he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to coexist with people. But in this moment, when having to choose a role and choosing a warrior, you see how quickly these beliefs and the heritage of his people come out of his mouth as if it was just so naturally there. Maru doesn't give a fuck about the Callians. Maru doesn't give a fuck about, like, I mean, he cares about Cross, sure, but like protecting his women and children becomes so much more. It becomes protecting his way of life. It becomes protecting his people. Exactly what Dora said. We're not asking you to respect our religion. We're asking you to respect our way of life. Maru saying, I'm a warrior, reminds me of Yuji saying, I'm a Jujutsu sorcerer. It's exactly like that. Maru has every right to protect his people, especially knowing that it took him 2 years to get to Earth, let alone from Sumeria, with no idea if they were even going to land on an actual planet and if they were just drifting throughout space forever. Now that they landed somewhere, Maru says, this is the best place for my people and I'm going to do what's right for my people. Now, before everyone calls me, you know, an alien lover, all that stuff, I will say at the very same time, Tsurugi and telling things from his perspective is also very integral and important to his character as a whole too, because Tsurugi at the same time is just as justified and has every reason to fight Maru here, as I just went on a tangent about Maru does. I feel like I wanted to talk about Maru first because I've seen most comments go against the Sumerians, but I do also want to make it very clear, Tsurugi wanting all of Sumeria to leave the country has multiple reasons for it. I mean, for one, you have the very base instinct that his fucking sister, hold on, I'm sorry. All right, sorry, give me 1 second. Anyway, Yuka, as Tsurugi goes to explain to Maru, Yuka going up against Deborah was her own personal decision. Yes, we know that for a fact. She wasn't forced into doing it. This is something that she went on with her own volition. Tsurugi even mentions as much that Yuka has been looking for something to give her life up. Yuka has been looking to give her life up on something, especially, which we know with her admittance to Cross, that she wants to live the rest of her life the best she can and as normal as she can. And if she can die in this fight with Deborah, if that not only helps the Sumerian people, but potentially solves all of this violence while also giving her a reason to die, not from brain cancer, but from doing something that she feels is her own volition, then that's what she's going to do. And this has unfortunately resulted in the worst possible situation of Yuka most likely using a binding vow that hastens her death, has sped up her brain cancer, because even Tsurugi says that her condition has progressed way faster than the doctor originally said. It's only been 3 months or a couple months, I think, but she could die tomorrow, in a week from now. There's no way to tell for sure, because it seems like she is, again, hastening her death to, when she fights Deborah, be as powered up as she possibly can by staking her life on the line. Something that Maru was even like, well, that's interesting. I don't even know if it will be enough to fight Deborah, but okay. And regardless of the entire sister thing, you do also have the very obvious case in point that if Kallians, quote unquote, curse spirits are kept around, they could overpopulate, release through Tokyo, release outside of Tokyo, and cause another Shibuya incident potentially across all of Japan if these populations grow too powerful, because the Sumerian people refuse to slay and exterminate the growing population and number of cursed spirits. So that could potentially throw not just Japan, but all of the world out of whack. I think there's a lot of different ways to look at both sides here. I understand, you know, obviously, hey, these guys came here, they're showing up and they're stirring things up. this is a problem. That being said, at the same time, I think it's also important to recognize that both sides are completely at fault, and I don't think anyone is more right than the other, no matter what side you sit on. I mean, again, humanity wouldn't be in this situation if they were more honest with the Sumerians, if they were more accepting of the Sumerians, and if they were willing to diplomatically handle this cursed spirit Kallion situation in a better way. And again, without preaching to the choir, without preaching to both sides and getting back into the chapter overall, what I will have to say is, for both of these characters to have such a realistic and honest reason to throw their friendships away here and fight up against one another, it just proves Akutami has done such a master class of a job writing both of these people into a conflict that really does feel like it's out of both of their hands. Neither of them want to be in this situation fighting against one another, but they really don't have a choice. Tsurugi admits it's what he has to do as a brother to make sure his sister can live another day, and also to make sure that his people are safe as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Just like, again, it's Maru's every right and reason to stand up for his people and declare that he thinks that his people should be able to stay here. I don't think any side is more right than the other, is what I really, really would get across. Earth is cooked if Japan falls to cursed spirits, and so the only ones with sorcerers. I feel like the cursed spirits getting out. Personally, you don't even have to include this in the review real quick. But like, I don't think the cursed spirits getting out would be that big of a problem. I really don't. I just really don't. I just like we go back to the way things were before. Are some people gonna die? I mean, isn't Tokyo just completely evacuated anyway? I don't know. Cursed spirits were free to roam Japan last series. And also, I genuinely really think that the Sumerians would realize that they're not cursed spirits pretty fucking quick. Let me get into some of these donos, and then I'll continue the review. I'm sorry, Jesse, I love you. Shadow Prophet, thank you for the dono. I find it crazy that they're literally sending her to die since the higher ups have no faith she can beat Deborah. Yeah, you know, right? It really is crazy because you would think the higher ups have changed, but they really haven't. They're sending a woman that they know is gonna die anyway, because she's literally the best option they have. She's not only the best option they have as a sorcerer because they know it will result in a death binding vow, most likely. I guarantee you that's part of the idea. And again, she's gonna die anyway, so you know, no skin off our backs, right? I'm sure that's how they look at it. Loud, thank you for the dono. Always happy to see you in the streams, Loud. Love you, I miss you. How do they keep the ship running in space? Doesn't the cursed energy run out? Does Mara have something similar to Six Eyes? That's something I definitely want to get into. It's definitely interesting that the whole curse technique thing, that being powered. It's possible that the Sumerians are powering the technique with their energy, and it's just Maru and Cross's technique overall that built it. And like, once it was built, it was just able to be powered by cursed energy, and that's it. I feel like that's a pretty decent possibility. You know what I mean? Once it's built, you can just charge it up, but you just needed the technique to build it. About the ship in Tokyo, how are they planning to get food, etc.? Because Japan will definitely look bad on the Sumerians after the duel. I don't know. These are things we haven't thought of. How are we gonna eat? Well, I guess they have the sea, they have the ocean. They did teach them, they did show them a bunch of things that they could eat here. All right, back to the review. Hold on. Don't judge me. I drink my Wawa half and half from the carton, but it's my carton. It's my half gallon. No one else drinks it, so it's not like I'm backwashing in someone else's. It's mine. All right, I keep it in a nice little fridge. I take it out when I want it. Don't judge me. I'm a heathen. I know. I'm a heathen. You get that extra flavor though, bro. What are your thoughts on Oski? I do want to get back to the review, but I will answer that. And I'll answer with Deborah survive a hydrogen bomb. We were making jokes in the Discord earlier. I was saying that Deborah would just walk off a motherfucking... he would just walk off a nuke. But I don't know if that's actually the case. I was mostly just joking. But I honestly, I'd be interested to see. By the way, if anyone would like to, feel free to join the Discord. Link just posted in chat. Feel free to join. We talk about all different kinds of community stuff. Jujutsu Kaisen, you know, Kagurabachi, Sakamo Days, all that good stuff. So join the Discord if you'd like. Link was just posted in chat. And just to answer a couple more questions. What are your thoughts on Oski? Fuck Oski. Oski's the reason this all happened. That's my thoughts on Oski. Okay, let me get back into the chapter. Yeah, so both of the characters, you know, with the masterclass of writing, because it set up the conflict perfectly. I also love that Tsurugi does get this nice inner monologue here that shows that he's also very intelligent, right? He's a very smart person. Tsurugi, on his own, after having all of this happen, was able to piece together that... Sorry. Ugh. Tsurugi, thinking about all this on his own, was able to piece together that the non-axe is essentially a full creation of Maru and Cross's curse technique, because he rightfully figures out that the story they heard of the planet of Samuria doesn't make sense for them to have a hyperdimensional, like, space traveling spaceship that's powered by cursed energy. Just doesn't make sense. From everything they've heard, they don't even seem to be as modern as Earth is, and if you want to just hand wave away, oh, you know, they're aliens, obviously they could just do it. That doesn't make no sense. And he assumes that using the Mulu stones, that with Maru and Cross's curse technique, that harmonization, Maru's curse technique was not only able to build the spaceship and send all those 50,000 Sumerians to Earth, but using that harmonization technique, that's how they were able to locate Earth. And on top of that, using the harmonization technique to find the Lumerians' perfect match, Maru was also able to get all of the Lumerians to be able to speak the exact same language as the humans. So now there's a legit fucking explanation as to why all of these aliens are able to speak Japanese to the humans and coexist so easily. Because Maru and Cross's curse technique is powering the non-X and powering coexistence as a whole. It's the only reason that Maru and Tsurugi are even able to have this conversation right now. So, again, you have these two characters that are both having full-on reasons to have conflict right now. Maru, who needs this duel to happen because he needs his people to secure Tokyo as an autonomous zone to live, and Tsurugi, who needs to have this duel called off to make sure his sister lives as long of a life as possible in her last couple of days, months, weeks, however long she has left. Tsurugi now being able to put two and two together that Maru is the one that controls the non-axe. He demands Maru take his people and leave Earth. Or at the very least, get the fuck out of my country. And when Maru refuses, declaring that he is in fact a warrior that will protect his people no matter what, as he believes this is their only chance at survival. Again, I mean, it's just a sad moment. It really is. I could cry. It's so sad to see these two characters who, again, like 3 fucking chapters ago, swimming with each other and getting, you know, stung by jellyfish. They have no choice but to fight one another. They don't want to, but the circumstances of their birth, you know, Make it impossible for anything other than conflict to occur. Yeah, the truest clash of ideals possible. I've got to say, yeah, again, masterclass of a chapter, in my honest opinion. I think it was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see what happens next chapter. If we're going to be completely honest with you, I really don't know how long this fight will go. I doubt either of these characters are going to die here. I have seen and heard multiple theories and people's ideas as to what may actually happen, and I do admit I do have a very much liked theory that I'll get into, but that's basically my summary of the chapter. I mean, all I can say is this fight that happens is just breaking my heart, and I hope neither of these characters are injured or severely hurt in this battle, and I hope something stops this fight. I just severely hope it. I hope it happens. Loud, thank you for the donut. Would Cross dying boost Maru like Mai boosted Maki? I think both Maru and Tsurugi are 1 year or 2 years older. I don't think either of them are twins. I think they're both just younger, older and younger brothers and sisters. So I don't know if Cross dying would power up Maru at all. It's possible because Cross and Maru do share. Oh no, Cross and Maru are twins, right? Or is Maru older? I don't remember. Are they twins or is Maru older? They are twin brothers. Oh, 110% then. Maru would get a 100% huge boost. I'm wrong. I was wrong. Oopsie daisies. No operator was wrong. Unsubscribe. I thought you were the JJK prophet. No, yeah, you're right, Loud. Yeah, I think that's actually going to happen completely. If Cross does die, although I hope Cross doesn't die, I do hope Cross does live. Didn't they say Maru's a bit older? It's possible Maru is like, you know, like a second or 2 seconds older, right? But I do believe that they are in fact twins. How strong would Maru be if Cross dies? It's actually unreal. I mean, it makes sense that their techniques would be connected then, them being twins too. It makes sense that they would share a curse technique. Because twins have the, you know, the omen. Oh boy. I would be surprised if this fight is long. Knowing Gege and knowing how Gege has been pacing the series, especially knowing that we may have like 10 to 15 chapters or so left, I think this fight won't last a chapter. I think it will probably end next chapter. People are going to be probably very upset by that, but I'm okay with it. It makes sense to me. And I'll tell you why. I think there's other factors in play for this story than we understand. There's other things going on. And I think that's going to interrupt not only this fight, but change the course of action completely. Because I like the idea that Maru can find Yuji using the curse, the talisman, potentially the Sukuna finger. I do like that idea. And there's also other things going on that I like. I also like the idea that Mahito could come back and that would give everybody an actually common evil villain to fight against. That could bring everyone back together. Yeah, no way they just show Mahito for no reason. Yeah, Mahito and Yuji are set up perfectly. I know a lot of people are fighting to the death to make sure that, like, to fight against that theory ever happening. But it's pretty possible. It's pretty possible. Mahito could take advantage of the whole Kallion thing. He really could. So I do want to talk about a couple things here. I do want to bring up some major things that I think that we can have some segments to discuss. So that being said, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. Helps the stream way more than you know. It really, really does. And like I said, I posted the Discord link in chat. If you haven't already, feel free to join the Discord. Fun community. What if the people of Samaria use positive energy instead of negative energy, like the opposite of our own world, and thought it was true? It's possible. That would make sense as to why their Kallions are different. They're natural spirits as opposed to the cursed spirits. Just spirits, but not the same. Okay, y'all. Let's talk. Let's talk about Yuka Okotsu. Because this character, to get put up against Deborah out of nowhere, it makes me think so much about what has Akutami not shown us about her yet. She seemed like she was going to be one of the most important characters of basically the entire story when Modulo began. Seemed like everything was going to have much more of a focus on Yuka's relationship with Tsurugi, the ring, and her development as a sorcerer. And then we took off on the aliens of coexistence. Tsurugi and Maru's relationship had a very, integral role of how the story is even playing out even now. And Yuka, we find out that she has brain cancer of all of these things. And for a sorcerer to get brain cancer, of all of the tragic things that can happen to you, that's probably one of the least expected ways for a Jujutsu sorcerer to go out, I would think. And I know a lot of people in the fandom were very concerned. I saw so many people thinking, oh, Gege just doesn't want to write another woman. It's another way to get Gege out. And besides all of the nonsense that you hear, I think part of the reason Yuka may have been left out of the story and only trickled to us in small doses might be for this exact reason. Because I quite literally think her getting put in this fight with Deborah is going to reveal not just a lot about who she is as a person and what she has been up to this entire time skip in time, but if she is powered up by a death binding vow, will that actually be enough to stop an amazingly strong calamity-like figure like Deborah? We know a vow that stakes its user's life is one of the strongest empowered things that you can ever get as a sorcerer. And I know a lot of people clown on binding vows as a whole after the Shinjuku raid, but I genuinely think binding vows are pretty concrete in the series, and you can make fun of the, oh, he gave up this to get this, but I think when you have things like people staking their lives on the line, you can see how much more serious a binding vow like that is. For example, you see this when Mei uses the kamikaze bird. The bird strike is something that was so powerful, even Sukuna didn't want to get hit by. You also have in Phantom Parade, even though it's just the mobile game, you have someone like Kaito Yuki who uses a binding vow with his life on the line to make a barrier so strong no one can break it. So with Yuka hastening the speed of her brain cancer in order to gain as much power and cursed energy and stockpile as much power and put as much emphasis on this binding vow that puts her life on the line as possible in order to hold up against Deborah, not only is this something that has the potential to rival a special grade, as we have seen with Bird Strike, we also now know that this, especially looking at her right now, this is in her mind how she is becoming her grandfather, Yuta Okotsu. Yuka, from the very beginning of the series, admitted that all she wanted to do was be able to, like her grandfather, stand up to a Sukuna level threat. And in a world before the Sumerian people showed up, something like that wasn't possible. Something that where she could stake her life on the line, especially knowing that she was sick with brain cancer and only had such few short months to live. What was her life going to be for? She could say she wants to live it like normal and do everything she could, but at the end of the day, this is what Yuka has always wanted to do. Even Tsurugi says as much. She's always been looking for a way to give her life up and put her life on the line and bet it on everything. Just like her grandfather did against Sukuna all those years ago. We still don't know what Yuka's curse technique is. I've seen so many people discuss the 10 Shadows theory and she is going to summon Maharaga theory. And I genuinely do think it's a very interesting theory. The whole idea that based off of, you know, the small little references, the hand signs that she's done, the techniques that we have seen from her could be animal related. There is a lot of people riding on that. And while I think that would be interesting in the story, I do also think it's very important to remember Rika's ring. Yuka has always been gearing up for a moment that not just her brother, but the people around her, especially her family and her clan, would be willing to accept her as a sorcerer, be willing to accept her for who she is as a person, and also accept that she is powerful enough to get the ring of her grandfather that she always wanted to. And something tells me most likely Yuka is going to get that ring before this battle begins. Because again, not only is she now able to throw her life on the line when it was already, you know, going to be sacrificed, by being the only person that Jujutsu Society can trust in a battle against Deborah, isn't she kind of getting exactly what she wanted and what she had asked for? She is basically saying from the beginning that she wanted to be acknowledged as a sorcerer, as someone that was like Yuta. And that's exactly what she gets. And I think this image of her that we see here is the purest, you know, form and symbolism of that. Could Yuka Okotsu's technique be copy? We don't know. All we have seen from her really are the savage jaw strike and the cursed energy manipulation that she claps for. She could be using partial summoning, something that we have seen from time and time again be done by people like Sukuna with the 10 Shadows. And not for nothing, she does have Zenin blood in her. She was born from Maki. She was born from fucking a special grade like Yuta. So not only does she have Michizane blood in her, she has Zenin blood in her, and also Zenin blood from a heavenly restriction. Now, would it be crazy to say that a 10 Shadows user is born from, you know, the coitus of a heavenly restricted user twice? I mean, weirder things have happened. So, a Zenin technique is definitely in her midst. And imagine 10 Shadows, as well as combined with the ring, she unlocks Rika, and Rika is able to bestow upon her a storage of curse techniques. There are a lot of different ways that Yuka's character can be done. And knowing that she will be at the absolute peak of her form, the highest she could ever possibly fly by staking her life on the line with a death vow as well, I am, weirdly enough, it's a completely different series, but I'm getting Adult Gone vibes. And this could be one of the greatest battles that we ever see and might only see in Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, considering it may almost all be done very soon. But on top of that, I think for a character we really haven't seen much in the series outside of personality, dialogue, and has only been in a fight a couple of times. We've seen Tsurugi fight way more. I really do hope, with everything that has been set up, we do get at least one chapter of seeing how strong Yuka Okotsu is able to be, and if she will ever be able to be recognized in the same way that her grandfather was. The one true thing she wanted, especially knowing with how little time she has left. Is she going to be able to accomplish that? Do we think that we'll be able to heal Yuka's brain cancer in some way, shape, or form by the end of this story? I'm honestly really curious to hear what a lot of you guys think in general about Yuka as a whole, because for her to be given such an important position in the story while doing most of her work in the background, I can only begin to imagine what Gege has been cooking behind the scenes. But besides the Maharaga and 10 Shadows theory, which I think is pretty viable, I would love to see what else you guys think is possible here. Let me know. Hopefully that was long enough to be a... I hope that was long enough to be a segment. I tried my best to talk about Yuka here. Could Deborah's curse technique basically be an instant touch of death situation? That would be fucking just unfortunate, right? He touches you once and you die. Damn. It actually turns out Deborah does just have idle transfiguration. Deborah just has dismantle and cleave. He goes, oh, by the way, malevolent shrine. Avant, wait, thank you for the 5. I feel like Maru is going to beat Tsurugi and Rika will activate and defeat Maru, letting Tsurugi go to his sister. That would be fucking insane. I mean, I don't know who... The ring being brought up has to be important. There's no way that just goes undone, and that was just, you know, uses a small introduction to create the dynamic between the brother and sister. That has to come back in some way. If you want to add this to the segment too, Jesse, I know this might be, you might have missed this, but like, I really do genuinely think Yuka not getting the ring and having the ring kept from her, I think there's more to that story than just has been revealed to us. A lot of people have done nothing but shit on the Gojo clan and talk about how the Gojo clan went right back to patriarchy and they immediately just started disregarding Yuka as a whole in favor of Tsurugi. But I want to make it also, you know, a fragment in everybody else's mind that there might be good reason why Yuka, again, the granddaughter of Yuta Okotsu and Maki Zenin, two insanely powerful sorcerers in their own right, may have been, you know, found as not only does she not need the ring, she can be powerful enough on her own, but also maybe giving her the ring is a bad idea because Rika could be corrupted at this point. What if Rika is an evil soul and has become an evil curse spirit after the death of Yuta, and Yuka having cursed energy and most of it could awaken Rika, and that could cause a struggle and a problem, whereas Tsurugi, having little to no cursed energy whatsoever, is able to hold on to the ring without imparting some kind of insane, you know, siphon to Rika and summoning her on accident. I think Yuka not getting the ring may have more story reasons besides misogyny, and the Gojo clan just doing what the, you know, most great clans would back in the day. Could it just be plain annoyance and they didn't want to give the ring to Yuka? I think that's possible, but I also like the idea of the ring being kept away from Yuka until she was deemed ready to wield it, because of a very specific reason of it being too powerful for her to handle, or they knew it would be something that Yuta never wanted or intended to give her, or it would become a curse for her, right? Remember, Yuka loved her grandpa so much. She was one of the only people that couldn't get over his death. Everybody says this, and the series started out with this. Perhaps they didn't want to give Yuka the ring because they didn't want what Yuta did to happen again. Knowing that it was very possible someone in that family could have done that exact thing. Especially someone that takes after Yuta the most. So, all I'm saying is, I would really, really, really like to see Yuka get the ring and what that has an impact on for the foreseeable future, because I think there's a little bit more to it than that. And all right, that's the end of that segment for real. Let me get to these donos. Shadow Prophet, thank you for the dono. Arika will save Sarugi while Yuji will save Yuka. Someone's got to save somebody here, okay? Someone's got to jump in and help. Someone has to jump in and help. We get a Zenin Clan Special 2.0. That would be sick. Fissionom, thank you for the dono. Deborah took dude's arm, but it's completely gone. Portal, that's a good possibility. It might be something spatial. Maybe like a Kamui from Naruto. Like he can send something to another dimension. They're in the middle of the fight, and then the arm flies. Tsurugi and Maru are in the middle of a fight, and then the arm flies down between them. And they're like, isn't that Yukihara's arm? Could Mahito get a vessel? If he was able to impart a cursed object, I think Mahito could just, manipulate Asuki and the other Sumerians behind the scenes. Maybe his technique is just like the Dragon Ball God of Destruction Sakai, because that guy's arm just disappeared. Facts. Straight up facts. I do actually want to talk a little bit about Yuji. We might as well. All right, we can start this one up. I do actually want to talk about Yuji just a little bit, because I have seen a lot of people mention something about him and how he can play an even more integral part of the story than people even consider right now. Because with the reveal that Kallions and Curse Spirits are kind of the same thing, not the exact, they do have some level of relationship, almost similar to the idea of when Hanami was a natural spirit, more of one than she was an actual cursed spirit. So there are differing types of spirits, and specifically, the Kallion are flesh and blood spirits that don't dissipate or, completely get exorcised and disappear upon death. We know for a fact that cursed spirits on Earth are beings born from the negative energy that leaks from your average human being. This negative energy pools together, known as cursed energy, and it is why cursed spirits are literally just amalgamations and forms of cursed energy given shape. With all of that being said, that is why we know for a fact the Kallions and cursed spirits cannot be the same thing by any means. However, there is something that we know of that fits the bill of a Kallion a lot more than cursed spirits themselves. And that's the death paintings. The death paintings that Kenjaku made technically do fit the criteria of what a Sumerian person would call a Kallion. They're not always, for one, they take on all shapes and sizes. Some of them look like animals, Some of them look like, you know, little bunnies. Some of them look like creatures. Some of them even look like crazy curse spirits. However, knowing that they can take any kind of form, they have the exact same makeup of a curse, and on top of that, they're flesh and blood, unlike the curse spirits of Earth. Death paintings are born of both human and curse spirit, so they are both flesh and blood as well as curse in nature. They are a hybrid form. And from what we know about Itadori Yuji now, Yuji is basically ageless. He is what a lot of people may call immortal. We don't know if Yuji will just live forever, but Yuji is technically an ageless, almost nigh immortal being that can live for thousands, 2000s years, meets the criteria of a cursed spirit, meets the criteria of flesh and blood. It's completely possible that the death paintings and even Itadori Yuji are an actual representation of Kallian. And while Mahito and curses are able to fool the Sumerian people, the fact that Yuji can die and won't disappear when he dies might actually be able to gain the trust of the Sumerian people more than anything. Now, we don't know if Yuji will come into play. He has been brought up multiple times in the story, and it's made almost pretty much clear that he will be involved in some way, shape, or form. Right now, we have no idea where he is. No one is able to find him, not even Nobara Kugasaki, and that's because with the fact that he's ageless, he's watching essentially all of his friends die around him, and he is the same age as he was when he first met them. And for someone who was given a curse at this point, you know, for sure, from his grandpa to save as many people as you can and die surrounded by friends, the fact that Yuji has now seen so many people around him die and he's not getting any closer to death than the day he met them, that has completely ruined him and sent him on a course where he doesn't want to be around anybody. He wants to be a loner. So with no one being able to get in contact with him, I know everybody does love the idea of Yuji showing up, him saving Yuka in the right moment because he thinks that Yuka giving her life for this is wrong. Yuji stepping up to defeat Deborah and send the Sumerians back home because Earth requires a hero. Earth needs a weapon and it needs its strongest warrior. However, if Yuji is unaware that all of this is happening and also at the same time is completely hidden and gone with no want to come back or want to be found, I wonder how exactly Yuji, who may actually be someone that can solve the Kallian crisis more than anybody by appearing and revealing that the curses are not Kallians. I am the Kallian, and you know what? We need to coexist. I think one of the best ways that a lot of people have brought up is that Maru, through his harmonization curse technique, even though we are on the day of the duel and we don't really have much of this time, depending on how far Yuji is, right? A lot of people have pointed out, and I think it makes a lot of sense, that Maru could potentially be the link that we need to find Yuji. We know there is still one last Sukuna finger. There may even be other cursed objects that have connection with Yuji that could lead Maru and Tsurugi to their quote-unquote perfect match and find Yuji when no one else would be able to. Now, we don't really have much time to do that, but I do think that's a very important thing to harp on, that Maru's technique does work that in that specific way. And there are still things like Deborah's sister who needs help from the black rope. There are plenty of details in both sides' factions of stories that need each other still for certain things. So with this battle going on between both races, I really do feel like an outside external force is going to be what makes both of these factions come together, besides just breaking down apart and one side being the winner. I highly doubt that's how Modulo will end. And to finish, I have one more theory when it comes to Yuji that I saw Prodigy, I got to give him a shout out for brought this up, and I really have been thinking about this a lot. And I wanted to talk about this as a finale to this small little segment on Yuji, which is Yuji has been gone for a very long time, to the point where he's even been willing to tell friends like Nobara that he can't bear to see her anymore. We don't know where Yuji has been. We don't know what Yuji has been through. On top of that, Yuji being immortal, Yuji fitting the criteria of a Kallion. Now, where am I going with this? If you'll remember, there was a chapter that Modulo started with that felt a little out of place, and it did kind of, you can tie it together to the story that we're currently in, but I think it can also be looked at in another way. Now, in chapter 3, with the Shark Man and the Tiger, that weird jarring shenanigans that happened, the tiger that was once a very nice, very friendly, animal that made a very nice pact with, the guy, Osaka, I think his name was, the shark sorcerer. And unfortunately, when things got bad, when its environment was completely torn apart, ruined by external forces, wind started coming around, it was forced to start feeding off of things that it didn't normally feed upon. When Osaka met the tiger again, the tiger was no longer that nice tiger cub that it had met before. It had become a monster, something that could not be reasoned with, something that could not be talked with. It had become something else entirely. No longer two beings that were able to communicate in the same language. Now, you could very easily look at this as the symbolism for coexistence. At one point, we were able to be friends, but now, after external circumstances have happened, even though we were at once friends, now that we are separate species, we can no longer look at each other the same. We now have two entirely different needs. The tiger needed to eat, and the human, even though it wanted to help, the tiger had its instinct rely way more and come in much more dependence in that moment. Now, I really do love how that ties into what I talked about earlier in the review with Maru, where Maru embraces his heritage in that last moment, almost as like feeling like he should and he needs to, even though at the end of the day, what's really driving him is his need to be a warrior. That instinct he has in him to be a warrior and what he knows in his heart a warrior is supposed to do, despite everything around him telling him that maybe he should go a different path. The tiger was almost similar to that. But we also know Yuji was the Tiger of East Junior High, or I think whatever his nickname was. And I think it's also possible that with Yuji being gone and separated from society for so long, what if Yuji has become something different now completely? Just not the same person by any means necessary at all. What if Yuji is just not even who he was, and Yuji actually ends up being a fucking villain? Now, I know that's a big stretch. Big stretch. But I just want everyone to take that into consideration and think about that just a little bit. Wouldn't that be very interesting? Hey, official Nom, thank you for the dono. Yuji could be much like a CO now, that he's attracting cursed spirits to him. A cursed object, aka Underground Tokyo. He could be playing around with his domain as to why he was in a crowd. If he's not with friends, where else on earth is worth being? I don't know, maybe he just wants to be by himself. I really don't know. But I think that's something really cool to consider. Sorry, I had to check. I mean, based off of what everything is said, just being around friends was painful for Yuji. Just absolutely painful for Yuji. I mean, imagine it. I mean, you still look 16 and all your friends are, you know, old as hell. I mean, I think of Full Metal Alchemist. I think of Hohenheim, right? Like Hohenheim basically being, you know, literally had to leave his family because he couldn't fucking deal with it. Had a whole ass family, wife and kids, and he couldn't fucking stand the fact that his wife was just gonna get old and die one day, and his kids were also going to just get old and die one day, and he was gonna stay the same age the entire time. That shit fucks you. Immortality sucks, man. It's so true. Immortality is never a good thing. It sucks cock. Think what you said is a big stretch since Nobara pretty much confirmed Yuji's still the same person he was. No, I definitely think so. I think that's the biggest stretch of a theory possible. But I think not so much even being a villain, but I mean, it's, you know, important to note Yuji. But again, we don't know. She also said she saw him last at Hana's funeral. We don't know how long ago Hana's funeral was. That could have been years ago. You know? We don't know how long it's been since Hana's funeral. We know he didn't show up to Yuta and Maki's funeral. And that happened when when the kids were young. That happened before the kids even got old. Right? So I think it's also important to realize that like Nobara might not have even no one might have seen Yuji for over 10 years at this point. Yeah, over like 70. That's what I mean. Like Yuji has also been gone for years. So Nobara being like, oh yeah, he was a big musclet, I know him, ha ha ha, like, oh, he is who he is, if you see him, let me know. That was also her interpretation of Yuji the last time she saw him. So I definitely think that's important to mention. Immortality is Sigma, people just get too emotional. I mean, I guess, I don't know. That sounds like a very like, you know, young thing to say. No offense. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like, yeah, if I didn't, like, I mean, if I didn't have, you know, my dogs and my girlfriend and, you know, my family, yeah, if I was just by myself, immortality would be great. Fuck it. Who do I care about? Yeah, no. I mean, if you are, like, I mean, yeah, no joke. I mean, if you are fucking Sigma grind, if you are Sigma grind, then yeah, immortality is based. But if you're not Sigma grind, immortality is kind of hell on Earth. Ha. I'm more curious on what he's been doing. It is a good question to think of what the hell he's been fucking up to. I mean, we may get that information if we do meet with Yuji. I mean, not for nothing, he might be putting himself in fucking timeout. You know what? Something else that I really, really, really loved. But say you were to become immortal and since you can never die, then you essentially become a god. I mean, I would be willing to believe you if almost every single interpretation of immortality I've ever seen wasn't almost always the most tragic fucking thing in the entire world. Like, I mean, like I said, you really got to be a certain type of psychopath to enjoy immortality. That's really it. I mean, like, that's basically really what it is. Like, if you have any sort of human emotion whatsoever, you're kind of fucked. You're kind of cooked. I just like living forever. Yeah, like I said, I completely get that. I completely understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong for thinking that. I'm not trying to fault you. It's just the fact of reality. I like the idea of literally watching the world change before my eyes. You know, I think it's funny because that's what most immortality immortals say, and then like they go through 100 years and then they're like, damn, this shit kind of sucks. Like, again, yeah, it's interesting. Here, let's put it to a poll. We'll put it to a poll. Let me change it. If you could never die, not if you could live forever. Let me change that, because you can. If you could never die, would you? Let's put it to a poll. I mean, if you only, I mean, if we're being honest, I would want the immortality where I stopped aging. Who wants the immortality where you keep aging? What am I gonna be, an old decrepit fucking mummy by age 150? No. No. Keep me like age 25. You know, like keep me at my peak humanity. Why the fuck is my headphones? They're tangled. I'm constricted. This shit kind of sucks. I wouldn't get to enjoy that dish I once had in 1830. How very sad. Yo, honestly, you get it though. You understand it. You get it. You get it. Like, you know what I mean? You got that little deli and you love having that sandwich every day. Best fucking place in the world. And then you just like, you stay the same age and that whole fucking deli shop, the next thing you know, is blown up. And now you got to walk by the fucking Costco or whatever they put on top of it. And you're like, damn, I remember when I used to get the best fucking grilled cheese sandwiches in that bitch. Now it's a Costco. And then 100 years later, now it's a fucking Kinko's. Like, damn. Time is real. I don't believe Yuji's able to have children. I think if Yuji went off on his own, Yuji doesn't have kids. That would be crazy if Yuji pulled a Hohenheim, dog. If Yuji pulled a Hohenheim, I could never forgive him. If Yuji had kids with Ozawa and then left his family, unreal, bro. I think immortality is the kind of thing that's fun for a little bit, but it's something you get over. If I could check out whenever I wanted to, I'd be okay with it. That poll is a confusing way to put it. Is it? I don't know. I feel like the never die was important because, like, if you live forever, technically speaking, I felt like someone would be like, oh, then you can, what if I stab you when you die? What does that mean? You know, like, if you just never die. If you could never die. I like the concept of being a god. I would trade it for life any day. I mean, sure. I understand that. I mean, most people probably would too. I think even being a god isn't something that is just fully without fault. You know what I mean? I think even being a god, there's tragedy in that as well. But we don't need to get into all that. You know, like kind of like it's kind of like the Gojo strongest thing, right? Like you're alone, right? You know, I guess it really comes down to loneliness, right? It comes down to, again, humans thrive off connection. We are social creatures by nature. We can be antisocial, and there are humans that are antisocial by nature. They also have wires crossed, and again, psychopaths, you know, sociopaths. I'm not trying to attack anyone, you know. Everyone's different. For me, I could see where immortality can be fun, or being a god or whatever, like one of a kind and so much better than everyone. I can see where that can be fun. I can see where it stops being fun after a while. I can also see where it stops being fun. 8 billion people on Earth, you'd have the opportunity to meet new people. I mean, yeah, but also at the same time, it's just like do you know do you know what it's like to do you, that being said, like, do you know what it's like after at that point to meet someone, have a connection with them, love them, and live your best life with them? They die, and then you're like, yeah, fuck it, 8 billion people in the world, no problem. And then you live for thousands of years and you never meet a single person that brings you as much joy as that person that died 1,000 years ago. That's gonna fuck you up eventually. That's gonna fuck you up eventually. I don't care who you are. That shit's gonna mess with you. Is that a reality? Yes. Is that always going to be the reality? No. You could always meet someone. You meet someone better. You know? You can meet someone better. But if you never do, damn. Wouldn't shit feel fucking pointless? Elefunk, I definitely, my opinion definitely is much closer to you. I don't fault anybody, but it's and no, I don't want to say it's just always people that haven't lived, right? But it's yeah, I don't know. The thing isn't meeting people exactly like that person, but acknowledging the difference in people. Oh, you could still acknowledge the differences in people, but also at the same time, you have to remember, right? Like, as an immortal, like, there are certain things that you just become completely jaded to, right? Like, at a certain point, like, you are going to come to the conclusion that it sounds very, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Sounds very pretentious to say, but not for nothing. A lot of people are also just the fucking same, dog. Some people really are just NP fucking Cs. You know what I mean? Like, no offense. None of you guys are NPCs. I love every single one of you, but they fucking are out there. The mouth breathers, okay? And when I tell you that, like, sure, it's one thing to be like, oh, I love meeting new people. I also love meeting new people, but especially as an immortal, like, you are gonna find yourself not only having the exact same fucking conversation all of the fucking time, you are going to find yourself slowly not giving a fuck about things over time after a while. Like, things are gonna get old, is what I'm essentially saying. Like, again, and that's kind of what I mean, where being immortal has its benefits, it has its pluses, and it even has a lot of fun with it. Like, you can enjoy being immortal for a pretty good goddamn time. However, I think with anything, you can only squeeze so goddamn much out of it. Eventually, life as a whole, whether it's 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 10,000 years from now, eventually, you're gonna get tired of it. There's always exploring space. Not like you could die. That is not an option. No. No. Get me the fuck out of there. Absolutely not. I'm not going to the void of space anytime soon. I'm just saying, think what you will, everyone has their own opinions. I'm not going to change anyone's opinion, I don't think I will. I don't think I have that power. I don't think I'm that convincing. But I will say, I'll tell you what I would do, and I would not live forever. I would like to live to like 150, maybe 200. Then I'd probably say that's enough. I'll have to call it. And I would very much prefer to have all of my loved ones also have that exact same lifespan. If I was the only one with that lifespan, it's not that I would, Minecraft myself, but I definitely would not enjoy the rest of my lifespan. Let's say that. I wouldn't have, eventually, there's a hole, there's a hole in who you are as a person that needs to be filled. And you can only fill it with certain things. And after a while, eventually, that same thing you're filling the hole with doesn't always work. And I want to be careful with my words here, because there's certain things that I want to act like should be permanent, but they're not. what I'm trying to say, long story short, is you will eventually not want to be immortal anymore. I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. I think there will eventually, there comes a point in every person's life where they're gonna be like, yeah, this shit is kind of ass. I'm out. I'm calling it. I had a good run, you know. But you know what? It's fine. You know what? There are people, again, that could live fucking forever and wouldn't give a single fuck about it. And you know what? Better people than me, dude. Much better people than me. I'm a bitch. I'd also just like to keep making stories and art. You could spend a millennium fixing bad stories and movies. But yeah, that's a good way to look at it. You know, find a, just keep making stories and art, and you have more time to pursue your passions. But guys, that's all I've got for you today, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Discord link is in chat, guys. Please, if you haven't already, hit the link, join the Discord if you'd like to join the community. Hit the like button for the stream. It helps way more than you could ever know. And we will have, I believe, the review of the chapter up for everybody as an upload soon enough, whether that be later tonight or tomorrow. And yeah, look out for that if you missed the stream. Thank you all so much for coming. Again, join the Discord if you want to join the community. Hit the like button. It helps the stream way more than you know. I love every single one of you guys. I love our little conversations. Super duper fun. I may come back later. I may not on the main channel. Play some Look Outside. We'll see how I'm feeling. We'll see what the vibe is of the day. No guarantees. Don't hold me to it. Don't. If that sounds exciting to you, do not wait up, because I might not do it. But I'm floating it out there as a possibility. But thank you guys again for coming to the weekly stream. Happy to have everybody back together for these chapter review streams. Happy to be back here again. Love every single one of you guys. And yeah, I'm hoping to do these every week now like we did before, especially with these chapters heating up as big time as they are. Maybe might even do a little bit of a spoiler stream next week for the fight chapter. We'll see. No guarantees. But anyway, y'all, thank you so much. Hit the like button if you haven't already. It really helps the channel a lot. I know I said it a lot, but that's because it's true. I hope you all have a great rest of your night. Go see Jujutsu Kaisen Execution. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.